Faith isn't something you hold on to when everything feels certain. It's what keeps you moving when everything around you falls apart. It's easy to say you believe when life makes sense, when the path is clear, when your plans unfold exactly how you imagine. But the real measure of faith comes when you can't see the next step, when the walls start closing in, when every voice around you says, it's over. That's when belief stops being an idea and becomes a decision. You either choose to trust what you can't see, or you let fear convince you that you were never meant to rise. When life hits you, it doesn't send a warning. It doesn't knock politely. It kicks the door down. You lose people you thought would always stay. You miss opportunities you worked your whole life for. You face nights so heavy that even sleep won't come. And in those moments, faith feels distant, doesn't it? You start asking, why me? Why now? What did I do wrong? But that's where your power begins, not in having all the answers, but in standing tall even when you don't. Because sometimes not knowing is what forces you to believe that something greater is at work. There's a certain beauty in being broken. When everything falls apart, it reveals what was truly holding you together. You start to see the difference between the things you thought you needed and the things you actually can't live without. And when all that's left is your will to keep going, that's faith, that's strength, that's the fire no one can put out. Some people think faith is passive, like waiting for a miracle to happen, but faith is active. It's the movement you make before you see results. It's waking up every morning when you have every reason to stay in bed. It's choosing gratitude when all you feel is pain. It's shaking hands with uncertainty and saying, I'll walk with you anyway. Because real faith doesn't remove the storm. It gives you the courage to walk through it. Let me tell you something. If everything in your life happened the way you planned, you wouldn't need faith. You just need a schedule. But life doesn't work like that. Life will test your patience, your character, your endurance. It'll take you to the edge just to see if you'll jump or trust that you can fly. And that's the key. It's not about having control. It's about letting go of it. Faith teaches you to stop trying to manage the outcome and start trusting the process. I've seen people give up right before the breakthrough. They were so close, but they got tired of waiting. They stopped believing because the results didn't show up fast enough. Don't let that be you. The waiting season is not wasted time. It's the training ground where your strength is built. It's where your roots grow deep. If everything came easy, you wouldn't have the depth to handle what's coming next. The struggle is not punishment, it's preparation. You've got to believe that everything you're going through has purpose. The losses, the delays, the disappointments, they're not there to break you. They're shaping you for something greater. Faith says, even though I can't see it, I know something is being built for me, and that kind of mindset, that's unshakable. That's the kind of faith that can't be taken by circumstance. Every time you've been knocked down, every time you've been counted out, you were being refined. Every tear, every setback, every long night, it's been adding layers of wisdom and strength to your spirit. So don't resent the pain, don't curse the silence. Learn to thank the struggle, because it's proof that you're still in the fight. And the fact that you're still standing, still breathing, still believing, means your story isn't done yet. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to see the entire staircase. Just take the next step, because that's what faith is. Stepping even when the ground feels uncertain, trusting even when your heart is heavy, smiling even when it hurts. And the beautiful thing is, once you decide to keep walking, life starts meeting you halfway. Opportunities begin to unfold. People appear out of nowhere to help you move forward. Doors that were once locked begin to open, not because you forced them, but because you believed they would. Faith isn't loud. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just that quiet voice inside that says, try again tomorrow. It's that stillness that refuses to give up. And that's what you've got to nurture, protect it, feed it. Because the moment you stop believing is the moment you start settling. And you were not built to settle. You were built to rise, to overcome, to conquer the impossible. So when the storm hits, and it will stand firm, don't let your emotions drive you off course. Keep your focus, keep your peace, and remind yourself that every trial is temporary. The same faith that carried you through the last storm will carry you through this one too. You might not see it yet, but something powerful is unfolding in your favor. Hold your ground, keep your faith alive, because when you refuse to give up, the universe has no choice but to move in your direction. Faith doesn't just ask you to believe, it asks you to believe when belief makes no sense at all. It's easy to trust when you can trace what's happening. But when life becomes unrecognizable, when what you prayed for doesn't show up, when what you thought was forever suddenly ends, that's when your faith starts to speak for you. That's when it's no longer just words, it's who you are. Because true faith isn't proven by comfort, it's proven by challenge. When everything is stripped away and you still say, I trust that this is leading me somewhere, that's when faith becomes real. There's a time in everyone's life when the plan falls apart. You thought you were on the right path, but suddenly nothing fits anymore. The doors you thought would open stay shut. The people you thought would help disappear, and the light at the end of the tunnel goes dark. And in that darkness, it's tempting to think maybe it's over. Maybe it's time to quit. But that's when you have to dig deep and remind yourself, faith doesn't shine because of the light. It shines in the dark. You don't need faith for the days when everything works. You need it for the nights when everything hurts. You can't learn strength from comfort. You can't learn trust from control. You can't build faith in a world that always makes sense. Faith grows in the unseen, in the unanswered, in the unexplained. It's like a seed. You don't see it growing under the soil, but one day it breaks through stronger than you imagined. The waiting is what makes it powerful. The not knowing is what gives it meaning. Sometimes the hardest part of the journey is that quiet space between your prayer and your breakthrough. You've done everything right. You've worked, prayed, stayed patient, and yet nothing moves. That silence can feel heavy. It can make you question if your faith is even being heard. But that's the testing ground. That's where the unseen work happens. Because while you're waiting, something inside you is transforming. your character, your patience, your perspective, they're all being shaped. And that shaping is what prepares you for what's next. Most people lose their faith, not because they don't believe in something greater, but because they can't handle the waiting. They confuse silence with absence. But silence is never absence. It's preparation. It's the calm before the shift. Sometimes the universe, God, or whatever you believe in, goes quiet not to punish you, but to strengthen you, to see if you'll still trust even when you can't trace the path. You've got to understand that faith is not a feeling, it's a decision. Feelings change, circumstances shift, people leave, but faith stays. It's that inner voice that says, I may not know how, but I know it's possible. It's choosing to walk forward even when you're scared. It's trusting that every no, every delay, every detour is pushing you closer to something that was always meant for you. Think about a caterpillar. It spends its life crawling, dreaming of flight, but before it ever becomes a butterfly, it has to be confined. It has to sit in darkness, trapped in that cocoon, not knowing what's happening. To the outside world, it looks dead, but inside, something divine is taking shape. That's what faith feels like sometimes. You can't see the transformation. You just have to believe that it's happening. And when the time is right, the wings will unfold. You'll look back and realize the isolation wasn't punishment. It was preparation for elevation. There are going to be seasons where you'll be tempted to lower your expectations, to stop believing because it hurts too much to hope. Don't. Protect your faith the way you protect your breath, because it's the thing that keeps your spirit alive. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when everything in you says, it's time to quit. Hold on, because faith is not about having proof. It's about having peace before the proof comes. And understand this, faith doesn't guarantee that life will be easy. It guarantees that no matter how hard it gets, you'll never walk alone. Every time you were at your lowest and somehow made it through, that was faith carrying you. Every time you were surrounded by doubt, but still found a reason to smile, that was faith whispering, you're not done yet. You may not always feel it, but it's there. Quiet, steady, unshakable. You can't build your life around what you see, because what you see is temporary, but what you believe is eternal. Close your eyes for a second and imagine where you want to be. Not where you are, but where you're going. That image you see in your mind, that vision that refuses to die, that's faith talking. It's not fantasy, it's prophecy, but it only becomes real when you refuse to let go of it. Every dream requires a stretch of darkness before it reaches the light. Every blessing requires a period of breaking before it blossoms. You might be in that season right now, the stretch, the silence, the storm. But if you can hold on, if you can believe without seeing, trust without knowing, you'll step into a version of life that will make every tear worth it. Because faith doesn't always change the situation, but it will always change you. And once you've been changed, nothing around you can defeat you. You'll walk differently. You'll speak differently. You'll know that even if the whole world turns against you, you're still guided, still covered, still destined. Faith will always ask you to move before you're ready. It'll ask you to take steps that don't make sense, to walk on ground that doesn't yet exist, and to trust that the way will appear once you start walking. Most people wait until they see the path clearly before they take a step. But that's not faith, that's comfort. Real faith says, I don't see it yet, but I believe it's there. Because if you wait for proof, you'll miss your purpose. There comes a point in life when standing still becomes more dangerous than taking the risk. You can't spend your whole life praying for a sign while refusing to move. Sometimes the sign you're waiting for is your own courage. The moment you decide to act, even without knowing what's next, that's when the shift happens. That's when doors start to open. That's when the universe begins to respond. You see, faith doesn't move mountains by staring at them. Faith moves mountains because you start climbing even when you don't know how high it goes. We all want certainty. We all want to know how it ends. But life doesn't hand out blueprints. It hands out moments, opportunities to trust, to risk, to believe. And if you don't act on those moments, they fade. Faith isn't passive, it's motion. It's the energy that turns dreams into destiny. You can pray all day, but if you're not willing to take the first step, your prayer has nowhere to land. There's a story of a man standing at the edge of a cliff. He's told to jump, to trust that the bridge will appear beneath him. He looks down, nothing. He looks up, silence. Every instinct says, don't move. But deep inside, something whispers, go. And so he jumps. The moment his foot leaves the ground, the bridge begins to build itself beneath him. That's what faith feels like, terrifying, uncertain, but miraculous the moment you move. You'll never know what's waiting for you if you refuse to leap. Some of you are standing on that edge right now. You're scared to take the next step because you can't see how it will work. You're waiting for things to make sense before you act. But the truth is, life rarely makes sense in the beginning. It's only when you look back that you understand why it had to happen that way. Faith gives you the courage to move forward even when logic tells you to turn back. Don't let fear of the unknown rob you of the life you were meant to live. Fear will always sound reasonable. It'll tell you to wait, to plan, to prepare a little more. But if you keep waiting for perfect timing, you'll wait forever. There will never be a perfect time, only a moment when you decide to move anyway. The truth is, every person who ever did something great was scared too. They just didn't let fear make the decision for them. Faith is not reckless, it's bold. It's trusting that your preparation and your purpose will meet in the right place. It's stepping out even when your knees are shaking. It's saying, I might fail, but I'd rather fail moving forward than succeed standing still, because motion creates momentum and momentum creates miracles. Think about it. When you look back on your life, the moments that changed everything were never the ones you planned perfectly. They were the moments you took a chance, followed a feeling, trusted something you couldn't explain. That's faith in motion. That's the moment the ordinary becomes divine. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just need to see enough to take the first step. You may not feel ready. You may not feel qualified. But faith doesn't choose the ready. It prepares the chosen. If you're being called towards something, it's because you already have what it takes inside you. You might not see it yet, but it's there. The gifts, the strength, the wisdom, they're already in you. Faith simply gives you the courage to bring them out. So start where you are with what you have. Don't wait for all the conditions to be perfect. Start messy, start scared, start small, but start. Because once you move, life starts moving with you, and suddenly what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. There's power in the unknown. It's where growth lives, where miracles unfold, where purpose reveals itself. You just have to trust that every step, no matter how uncertain, is leading you closer to something greater. The things you fear most are often the very things that will free you. Faith teaches you to walk into the fire, not because you enjoy the heat, but because you know there's something on the other side that's worth burning for. You might fall, you might stumble, you might even fail, but that's not the end. It's just part of the process. Every time you fall and get back up, your faith grows stronger. Every setback becomes a setup for something new. That's how life builds you, one step, one lesson, one leap of faith at a time. So whatever it is you've been hesitating on, take the step, make the call, write the page, start the business, speak the dream out loud. You may not know how it will work out, but that's not your job. Your job is to move, because once you do, faith will do the rest. Faith is not just believing in what you can't see, it's holding your peace when everything around you is trying to steal it. When life throws chaos at you, when people disappoint you, when the world starts spinning out of control, that's when your faith becomes your anchor. Because it's easy to smile when life is good. It's easy to stay calm when everything's going your way. But real strength shows when the storm comes and instead of breaking, you stand still. You breathe. You trust. You say to yourself, this storm will not move me. Every person who's ever walked through fire will tell you, peace is not found in the absence of problems. It's found in the presence of faith. Because life will never stop testing you. There will always be something trying to shake your ground, to make you question, to make you react. But the moment you learn that peace is a choice, not a condition, that's when everything starts to change. Faith gives you that peace. It allows you to stand tall when the wind blows, to smile when you should be breaking, to keep your head high when your heart is heavy. There will be moments when life feels unfair, when you've done everything right and things still fall apart, when you give your best and it still isn't enough. Those moments can drain you. They can make you bitter, angry, hopeless. But that's when faith whispers, stay still. Don't let what's happening around you change what's happening inside you, because peace is power. And when you have it, nothing and no one can control you. See, faith doesn't promise a storm-free life. It promises a storm-proof spirit. That means you might still get hit, but you won't collapse. You might cry, but you won't quit. You might bend, but you won't break. Because your strength doesn't come from what's around you. It comes from what's within you. There's something powerful about being calm in chaos. The world notices. People feel it. When everyone else is losing control and you're standing firm, it's not arrogance, it's awareness. You've realized that life can shake your situation, but it can't shake your foundation. And that foundation is faith. It's built from every battle you've survived, every tear you've wiped, every storm you've come out of stronger than before. Sometimes you've got to remind yourself of that. Remind yourself of every night you thought you wouldn't make it through, and yet you did. Every problem that seemed impossible, and yet somehow it worked out. That's proof that you're covered. That's proof that peace is not a reward, it's a mindset. It's you saying, I don't know how this ends, but I know who I am in the middle of it. A faith gives you that kind of authority over your emotions. It stops you from letting temporary moments define permanent outcomes. It teaches you to pause before you panic, to pray before you react, to breathe before you break. Because sometimes the greatest power you can show isn't in fighting, it's in refusing to be moved. And make no mistake, peace takes practice. You won't always get it right. There will be days you lose your cool, days you want to scream, days you feel weak. That's okay. Faith isn't perfection, it's persistence. It's learning to come back to your center no matter how many times you drift away. It's reminding yourself, this storm doesn't own me. This moment won't define me. My peace is mine to keep. You've got to protect that peace like it's gold, because it is. Don't hand it over to negativity. Don't let people who didn't build you be the ones to break you. Not everyone deserves a reaction. Not every battle needs to be fought. Sometimes silence is stronger than words, and walking away is louder than shouting back. Faith will teach you that you don't have to win every fight. You just have to keep your peace through it. There's something freeing about realizing you don't need to control everything. You don't need to fix everyone. You don't need to have all the answers. The moment you let go of control, faith takes over. And when it does, you start to see how everything connects. The people who left, the doors that closed, the disappointments that broke you, they were all part of a plan you couldn't see yet. That's the peace that passes understanding. You'll start to move differently. You'll stop chasing validation. You'll stop begging for closure. You'll learn that you don't need every question answered to know that you're on the right path. Because faith and peace walk hand in hand. One keeps you grounded, the other keeps you going. So the next time life tests you, don't rush to fix it. Don't panic when it gets dark. Just stay still. Stay faithful. Let your peace speak louder than your fear. Because the moment you stop fighting against what's happening, you start aligning with what's meant to be. Everything you're facing right now is temporary. The chaos will pass. The noise will fade. But the strength and peace you build through it, that will stay with you forever. Hold on to that. Because when you can keep your peace in the storm, you've already won. Faith will always demand that you release something before you receive something greater. It will ask you to let go of what you've outgrown, even when it's familiar. It will challenge you to walk away from comfort so that you can step into calling. That's the hard part, because letting go doesn't feel like progress, it feels like loss. But sometimes what looks like loss is just life clearing space for something bigger. You can't receive with closed hands. You can't move forward if you're still holding on to what's behind you. There comes a moment when faith whispers, it's time to let go. Not because you're weak, not because you failed, but because what once served you no longer fits where you're going. We hold on so tightly to people, places, and situations that no longer align with who we're becoming. We cling because it's familiar, even when it's draining us. But faith will nudge you to release it, because what's ahead of you can't enter your life until you make room for it. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying what was never yours to hold forever. You can't keep everything and still expect to grow. Growth requires release. It requires faith strong enough to say, I don't know what's next, but I trust it's better than what I'm leaving behind. That's a level of maturity that comes from experience, from heartbreak, from understanding that endings are not failures, they're instructions. When something ends, it's often because your purpose has shifted, and faith gives you the strength to walk away, not with bitterness, but with peace. You've got to understand that holding on can become a form of fear. Fear tells you, if you let this go, you'll never find something like it again. But faith tells you, if you let this go, you'll finally make room for something greater. Fear binds you to what's safe. Faith leads you toward what's meant. You can't soar while clutching the ground. You've got to loosen your grip on what's fading so your hands are free to catch what's coming. Think about a tree in autumn. The leaves fall one by one, and to the outside world, it looks like death. But what's really happening? Renewal, preparation. The tree knows it can't hold on to what's dying and still expect to bloom in spring. It has to shed the old to make way for the new. The same goes for us. There are seasons when life will strip things away, relationships, jobs, plans you were certain about. And though it hurts, faith says, don't panic. You're not losing, you're transforming. Sometimes you've got to stop trying to fix what was never meant to last. Not every person who walks into your life is meant to stay. Some are lessons, not lifetimes. Some situations are bridges, not destinations. Faith helps you recognize when it's time to cross over and not camp out where you were only meant to pass through. It gives you the courage to walk away without resentment, to close the door without anger, to trust that letting go is not the end. It's the beginning of something that fits your spirit better. You've got to stop reopening chapters that life has already closed. Stop looking for peace in places that only gave you pain. You can't move forward if your heart is anchored to the past. And I get it. It's not easy to let go of something you loved, even if it wasn't right for you. But faith teaches you that closure doesn't always come with explanation. Sometimes peace is just accepting that you may never know why it had to happen this way. You can't carry everything with you on your journey. Some weight is meant to be set down. Some battles are meant to be left behind. You're not betraying your past by moving on. You're honoring it by not letting it define your future. Faith gives you that clarity to see that every goodbye, every ending, every detour was part of the divine rearrangement preparing you for something greater. And when you let go, something incredible happens. You start to breathe again. You start to see clearly again. The heaviness lifts, and suddenly space opens up inside you. That's when new things begin to flow, new opportunities, new peace, new strength. You realize that what you thought was the end was only the middle of a bigger story. Faith made you release what you thought you needed so you could finally receive what you were meant for. There's power in surrender. It doesn't mean defeat, it means trust. It means saying, I'm done fighting battles that are already over. I'm done forcing what's not flowing. It's in that surrender that true faith begins to bloom, because when you stop trying to control everything, you finally allow life to work for you instead of against you. So if something or someone is leaving your life, don't chase, don't cling, don't beg. Just bless it and release it, because if it's meant for you, it'll come back better. And if it's not, something greater will take its place. Letting go is not the end of your story. It's the start of your freedom. You've survived too much, learned too much, grown too much to keep holding on to what's breaking you. Trust that what's next is greater than what's gone. Because the moment you let go, you don't fall, you rise. Sometimes life will take you through seasons that make absolutely no sense while you're in them. You'll pray, you'll believe, you'll do everything right, and still things will fall apart. Doors will close. People will walk away. The very plans you were sure about will crumble right in front of you. And in that moment, you'll be tempted to question everything, your purpose, your faith, even your worth. But that's when you've got to remind yourself, every delay, every detour, every disappointment is part of a setup that you can't see yet. You see, we're so focused on what we lost that we miss what we're being led toward. We think God forgot us when really He's protecting us. Sometimes the no you got wasn't rejection, it was redirection. You were being moved out of harm's way, shielded from something that wasn't meant for your next level. Faith isn't proven when everything's going your way. Faith shows up when nothing makes sense, when the vision is blurry, when the path looks dark, but you still take another step, believing that every moment of pain is shaping something powerful inside you. We all love the promise, but nobody likes the process because the process is uncomfortable. The process strips you, humbles you, tests you. It puts you in places where you have no control, where the only thing you can do is trust. That's when faith becomes real. Not when you can see the outcome, but when you can't. And you still keep moving, you still keep showing up, you still believe that what's being delayed isn't being denied, it's being developed. There are some things in life that take time because you're not just being prepared for the blessing. The blessing is being prepared for you. You can't rush divine timing. You can't force a door open that wasn't designed for you yet. Sometimes God will hold something back until your character matches your calling, because He's not interested in just giving you success. He's shaping you for sustainability. He's teaching you to stand, to handle pressure, to walk with humility even when you rise. That's why the weight exists. You might not see it now, but you're being built in the background. Every struggle, every setback, every silent night is molding you into the version of yourself that can carry the next chapter. Don't rush the process trying to prove your worth. The right opportunities won't pass you by. They're just waiting for you to be ready to receive them. And sometimes that readiness is forged in seasons of stillness. There's a kind of strength that only comes from being broken, a kind of wisdom that only comes from waiting. You learn patience, you learn discernment, you learn gratitude, not when everything's handed to you, but when you've had to endure and trust. You start realizing that what you once called a breakdown was really a breakthrough in disguise, that the moments where it hurt the most were the moments that matured you. Because you can't build faith in comfort. You build it in challenge. You build it when nothing adds up, but you still say, I know I'm going to be okay. Well, don't mistake silence for absence. Just because things are quiet doesn't mean nothing's happening. The seed grows in the dark before it ever breaks the soil. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean growth isn't happening. You might be in your waiting season, but that's not a wasted season. It's preparation. The quiet moments are where your spirit gets aligned, where your purpose gets refined, where your next step gets revealed. And when that moment finally comes, when the doors open, when the opportunities align, when the vision starts unfolding, you'll realize why it had to take time. You'll see how every delay was actually protection, how every no was a setup for a greater yes. You'll see that the pain had purpose and the waiting had weight. You'll look back and say, if I had gotten what I wanted when I wanted it, I wouldn't have been ready to handle it. That's the beauty of divine timing. It's always right on time, even when it feels late to you. So stop trying to rush what's meant to unfold slowly. Stop comparing your timing to somebody else's timeline. What's meant for you is not in competition with anyone else. It's being tailored, tested, and timed specifically for your path. Don't let impatience make you settle for less than what's destined for you. Because when you wait in faith, you don't just get what you asked for, you get more than you imagined. Every season of waiting has an expiration date. Every struggle has a reason. Every delay hides a lesson. You've just got to stay the course, stay grounded, stay faithful. Because the same pain that tried to break you is the same pressure that's building you. You are not being buried, you are being planted. And when it's time, you'll rise stronger, wiser, and more prepared than ever before.